Originally, I'm academic person, so we were doing some research on social media analytics. So let's say I have your Instagram and Twitter and TikTok or whatever, like account name. So I could predict how likely you are introvert or extrovert, or even how likely you're gonna get gain weight, like how likely a BMI will increase based on what you type in Twitter. And this research went quite a bit. Derek, if you let me share the screen, I want to show a couple of articles. Yeah, so we were doing quite a bit of this kind of research, and one day we have published a paper in a very famous American conference called AAAI. I think this probably is the biggest research forum happening in different parts of the USA. That year it was in San Francisco. I still remember I was living in Tenderloin district, walking all the way up to Union State. Yeah, I mean, quite
Tripping
scary.
on the needles.
We get like this big guy standing in front of our hotel, because otherwise, I don't know, probably not gonna make it to the conference day next day. Yeah, so but anyway, so the article was article was about predicting your marital status. If you go to my Scholar, you can find it here. I think this one, yeah, towards user personality profiling from multiple social networks. And we were predicting how likely you are married or single or divorced or in a relationship based on what you type in what you post in your social media, from images, from videos, from posts, wherever. And then this article got very accurate. It got 86% accurate, predicting actually whether you're married or single from your timeline in social media. So some journalists in a conference, they came to us and they say, oh, can we apply this to some politician profiles? And we being researchers, we're like, okay, sure, yeah, let me provide you all the code and stuff. And then I applied it on Hillary, on Obama, and also that time that Trump was running for presidential election. So they applied it on a Trump, and he was the only one who was actually predicted as a single person, yeah. So out of all these candidates, so if you now Google something like Trump with Bachelor AI, you'll find like Daily Mail, New York Post, The Independent. Okay, like let's open New York Post. So they were saying like, even AI thinks that Trump is a bachelor. No wonder he doesn't hold his wife in a proper way in the public and all these kind of things. That was a lot of free PR for us, really, across the globe. But there's one aha moment for us, because we also realized that if we can predict the actual true psychographics of Trump, because we all know that he's not really traditional pensioner and doesn't really fit his demographic profile, why don't we do that for a really huge number of people that are connected to, let's say, a brand in the internet? And if we can do that, we can understand the audience very well. And if we can understand the audience very well, then we can apply it so many ways. One way to do it is apply it to the marketing. This is how SoMin, which SoMiners stands for social miners, that's how the company have given it raised. That's how it's raised. And now we evolved into the platform that aims at a very simple but yet very powerful goal. We want to transform the whole digital marketing journey from creative generation, which you can do based on your personality, all the way to targeting the ads, optimizing the ads on Meta, on Google, in such a way that it's working so well for marketers to run ads through our platform, and it saves them so much time so that they're really afraid to make decisions without our platform. And we created it consisting of 4 modules. One of them is called SoAds. What it does, it discovers millions of interests and target ads in a very fine-grained manner. Target lots of versions of the ads to maybe thousands of different combinations of targeting creative to show the right ad to right people. And because the right people see the right ad in the right times and click on it, they convert, and then the ROI of the advertiser increases. So this is number 1. The second one is called SoMonitor. What it does, it analyzes your competitors and it predicts how likely your competitor ad is running well or not. So let's say I'm BMW, I can look into Audi USA ads and tell exactly which ad is working well, which is not, and also why. I can explain why. I can draw the heat map showing why this particular ad is so good. So this is called SoMonitor. The third one is called SoCraft. Basically, it's for generation of the new content, right? Based on GPT-4, and it steals the best style from the best performing ads from competitors and input that into your ad, so that it generated in such a way that the best, let's say again, you're BMW, the best copywriter of Audi will be writing ads for you in just a second, like thousands of ads just in seconds through the GPT-4. And then the last one is called SoInfluence, because we need to do organic as well. So yeah, it will gonna find like maybe few thousand of bloggers that will be talking about your brand, not like a really big one like a Derek's brother. I'm not sure if you know that or not. He's like a huge influencer, but like many small ones, like 5,000 followers, 10,000, but really many of them, and then they'll be talking about your brand. So now whatever you do, creative content, ad optimization, competitive analysis, influencer, SoMiners, that's where you should go. And if you don't go, then you better be worried, because you wouldn't make it the most efficient fashion you could. So this is a company we built. We are in 7 markets, serving lots of clients, Ferraris, Audis, big telcos, big banks, P&G buying us in different areas of Asia, USA, UK. And I'm happy to lead that at the moment.
So Alek,
yeah.
Let me ask a question. I would just be curious you had all this research and you were a professor.
Yep.
Talk about how you went from idea to execution, because it was a really big idea. I mean, now it kind of all resonates because, AI where it is, but you started this 4 or 5 years ago. Kind of talk about how you went from that idea and academic shift into being a startup. Like, how did you do that?
Because academia is way ahead of their industry. So if you look at my scholar here, I mean, since you asked this question, I'm going to show you another article. It's not like I'm a fan of articles or whatever, but look here. It's called Harvesting Multiple Sources for User Profiling Learning. And we did it in 2015, right? So it was like 8 years ago, right? So here, inside there, we are saying that we are doing multimodal, multi-source, multimodal machine learning and AI. And now you say GPT-4 multimodal. And this is where the word start talking about multimodal. Yeah, GPT-4 is a large multimodal, and this is the biggest advantage of GPT-4 compared to other models.
Yeah.
What it means that it can process images, text, and other stuff in the same time. But for us in 2015, that was already something we must do. Otherwise how? Otherwise, it's just not cool enough to publish. So there is a cycle of 5-7 years from something to be a research to something become a really industrial technology. And actually, when you do a PhD, it's pretty easy to look.
But I'm more interested in how you made that like tactical shift, because basically you had an idea, you had research, and it was, well founded. But how did you actually move into entrepreneurship, and what was that adjustment like? Because I just think there's lessons learned in how you go from idea to execution.
Yeah, so I was lucky. My professor, he is an entrepreneur himself. He founded 2 companies. One is Series B now, another one is Series C. One is called 60 States, another called B-Sense. So I was lucky to follow him everywhere and helping him a little bit on the technical side when he was actually selling the products of his company. So I had a chance to discover the gap. However, there is another thing that it was really hard to shift from the product thinking into the problem thinking. If you Google the guy called Yuri Levine, who I met just a bit, he's a founder of Waze. I met him, I think, a few weeks ago.
It's Yuri with an I think.
Yeah,
URI.
Yeah, he's you, but I mean, it's Google. He'll find the right person. But anyway, I met him 3 weeks in Google. What he says, I mean, he's now like very much promoting his new book, which is very recommended, by the way. But what he says is, fall in love with a problem, not the solution. So PhDs and professors, they are definitely in love with solutions, not the problems. In fact, when we create something, sometimes our research advisors telling us, that's not complex enough. It must be really complex. It must be such a way that somebody else read your paper and don't understand anything. Because if they don't understand anything, they'll accept it and it will be published because it sounds and looks cool. So when you went to the business, I realized that nobody cares how cool what you do, especially how technical it is, as long as this works. It either works or it doesn't work. And if it works and if it solves the problem of the customer, then it doesn't really matter whether it's too cool or too simple, and vice versa. If it's very good, very advanced, but it doesn't solve the problem, then nobody cares. You're gonna just waste all your money and time trying to find a market fit which doesn't exist, or maybe you're too early or whatever. So this was the hardest shift because I just continued doing what I did in my research lab. And then after, I think, half a year or maybe 8 months, I realized that nobody need that. I didn't even validate the market. So I have to really seriously pivot into studying, talking to people, giving something that is not even working yet or not even built yet, just to get the feedback. So Yuri says, and I agree with him, that if you decided to build some product and you are now six months into building it and you need another 6 months, so you are about 6 months late to actually release this product to the public. So you should release it even before you start building it. And that is the time when you're going to learn from your customers what exactly they need. And that will be most likely not what you build. And because you are the perfect data set and sample of exactly one person with all your problems. And everybody around you most likely have a slightly different problem, maybe completely different problem. So you need to learn that first. You need to study that first. Then you start building things.
So
and
Alex, let me ask though. So when you say kind of release early or, fall in love with the problem, not the solution.
Yep.
What are some examples today that you employ on how to do that? Because I think on a high level, it resonates with people, but when it gets down to it day to day, how do you actually see that being deployed successfully, where it's not just, memes, but actual tactical tips?
Yeah, so for different people, the origin of this is different. Some people really hate something So they want to fix that. Some people are really angry at something, let's say at some, maybe even competitor of those. There are some entrepreneurs that even purposely look for the car plates with their competitor company name saying that. No, in US you can do that. Yeah, so that is a different type of anger. Some people want to improve the world, make it a better place. Sometimes they become even non-profits. Sometimes it's a for-profit company, but I really look for making the world a better place. I believe the worst reason to do a startup is look for money. Those things usually don't work. But if you have some other reason, it could be like, yeah, an anger, or maybe, I don't know, you really hate certain thing in your life, then it could be a good solution that you can study first and maybe build up a product. So for Somin, there is absolutely opaque situation when it comes to digital ads. So for example, when it comes to, there is one thing you could really don't like when you, let's say, promote your B2C startup, that you run ads on Facebook, you run ads on Google, and they just don't get results, even though they promise it to you. And there's so many things you need to set up there. Maybe you want to set up attribution setting, you want to set up, I don't know, the funnel, the landing page, their APIs, the pixels, the domain verification, all those things. You set up all this, spend so much time, or you spend money on the agents, it still doesn't work. And then you start trying to optimize, and you click the button, say run and optimize for the best conversion, and it doesn't work, and it just doesn't match your unit economic. And then you start thinking about it, and like, okay, Facebook, actually, where is their earning revenues from? And then you understand, oh, actually, they're earning revenues from the amount of traffic you send to your website. Doesn't matter, good one or bad one or whatever. You pay for showing your ad, and therefore, more you spend, actually, more they earn, and better their revenues are. But it's not necessary that you're spending this efficiently, not necessarily it helps your business. And then you look at the market and you see, oh, that's pretty much the only platform in the market that is really competitive. Well, now we get in TikTok, yeah, some competition there, but a few years ago, it was not the case. So then you understand, okay, so it looks like one monopoly player takes pretty much half of the market. Another one is Google in search. And they're getting so much money from the advertiser, don't guarantee you anything. They can change any policy anytime they want, and you will still be there and still spending lots of money. And then we thought, well, yeah, maybe with our computer science background, with our understanding of social media, we can take 100% advertiser side, crack the system, and help the customers. And that's what we start doing. We start cracking the system, we start really figuring out how Facebook works. Now we know it very, very well, better than many Facebook employees, because they don't have access to it due to the privacy regulation as a company. But we know this practically over the last 5 years, every single thing, how it works internally. And now we are helping advertisers to do a better job on Facebook, despite all the algorithms, despite the Facebook optimization towards their own revenues. This is one thing. Is in the B2B. Yuri's case, he really didn't like to travel, and he liked to travel, but he didn't like to spend waste time in jam. So they went for a vacation with, I guess, 7 families together, like a big party, and he had 2 kids and his wife. So basically, they were the last people to leave, go back to Tel Aviv from the place where they had a picnic. And he thought, like, okay, I so don't want to get to jam. It's so jammy now. It's like end of weekend, everybody go back to Tel Aviv. If I could have somebody in front, I can call and actually check whether this highway is empty or this highway is jamming, then I could probably plan my road better. And because they were the last to depart, there were other 6 families who already were driving. So he actually just started calling them And apparently some of them told, oh no, don't go here, it's too crowded. And then another told, oh no, here is actually quite good, you can take this turn, and then eventually reach your destination. And then he arrived together with everyone despite leaving the latest. And that's how ways appear, because he really hated to stay in the jams. And he found that if somebody in front of you can tell you where is the jam, where is not, that probably you can automate it and make a ways. And then it was bought by over $1 billion by Google. So in his case, he really hate to waste time or money or something like that. And then he fall in love with the problem, and he saw it in automation way. Of course, the problem have to be big enough. Otherwise, you might end up wasting your time again, because maybe it's just your problem, not somebody else's problem.
So talk to me about your fundraising journey, and maybe kind of talk about how you've raised capital. I know you're raising capital now. But what are some of the kind of the biggest lessons that you've learned beyond kind of what you read about or see on TV?
I have to say that for later stage companies, let's say Series B, Series C, D, what really start making the biggest impact is the financials of the company, right? So if you are in that stage, if you are maybe over 100 million or 200 million of valuation, then everybody will be looking at your revenue growth, and your valuation will be defined according to those numbers, and your multiple will be smaller. But and investors will be maybe private equity funds, not even VCs anymore. But for the earlier stage, I guess what's very important is to come across as a very good familiar founder. And there are multiple things that are quite important here. So you need to come across as a person that understands what he or she is doing in terms of different aspects of the business. Like there is a common belief, for example, that founder definitely know how to sell their product and be pretty much the first sales in every single new market that they reach into. There is also a new belief that in deep tech projects, founders should understand the technology as well, because those things are very much related to the business, right? Then you start coming up with some formula that helps you to raise better. And for me, this formula is pretty simple. First of all, I do know VC pretty well now after all those numerous rounds of fundraising and everything, right? So I kind of know what VCs want, and I do talk to them in a little. I talk to them as a colleagues, yeah, because we do discuss their fund, we do discuss our deal. We sometimes even come across discussing whether our deal is the best for their fund according to their mandate. Or sometimes I myself sitting in an investor committee in my friends' funds, helping them to do due diligence, helping them to do investor committees for some of the companies they invested in. So this is very important, because if you understand this, means you will be raising in the future, means your company will be supplied with fresh funds in the future, and basically the fundraising side will be closed. It's only at Series C when a company starts getting dedicated people just for fundraising, not at the early stage. In early stage, seeing founder is very important. Founders should speak well. Founders should be able familiar with the product and other aspects of the company, should know the numbers, shouldn't lie, should be convincing, and should be really in love with what they built. This is what VCs are looking. And I think there are hundreds of criteria you never really know about yourself, but they are looking at you, and they are reading this from you. And I do believe in the early stage founder is very important thing. But there are certain tactics that one also need to adopt. Let's say once you get a lead, the situation is very different with your fundraising. round, one lead is not equal to hundreds of followers, because lead is somebody that who defines the terms. A lead is somebody that is able to advertise a company to the followers, and somebody just really leading the round. So getting a lead is very important. But what I learned, and I didn't know before, that getting 2 leads is even better, because once you get 2 leads, you suddenly get a leverage on the deal. And if you don't let them know each other early enough, then you have a great leverage, because that is a moment when you can get the best deal for yourself as a founder, for the company. As you don't depend on one investor, you can always walk away to another one. So getting many term sheets at the same time is as important as founding a lead. And having a proper sales and marketing funnel for investors, another very important thing. You really need to not give everything you have straight away. Even when your investors get into the data room, you must have several stages of the data room. Data room for those who, just came in. Data room for those who already put effort and due diligence your company. Every time you get new materials for investors, you should trade those materials. You shouldn't just give those materials, because they need to understand that you as a founder do dedicate time, so do they. And every time you getting them something, you need to get something back, maybe more clarity on the round, on timeline, or maybe something else that you really need. So then you start treating fundraising as sales. You get a funnel, you get hopefully a couple of term sheets, you get a lead, you come across as a really great experienced founder, and then hopefully your business also not bad, yeah, because it's also kind of important component that your business not really suck. And all these things come together, then fundraising become pretty cool process, and it's quite interesting. It's like sales, but it's even higher levels than the B2B sales, I would say.
I love that tip of treating founders like investors like colleagues. I always use the metaphor to treat it like dating. But I think using like colleagues is another thing, because you do work with your investors, don't you?
Oh yeah.
And you do wind up working very closely with them. You don't just take their money and never speak to them.
That's right. I do work with them after. I mean, in fact, having new investors, becoming your friends, talking with them. I usually talk on a monthly basis, or even more often sometimes. And that's voluntarily. I usually don't put too many things on my reports into them in a document. But despite what is in the document that we sign, I try to get at least monthly catch-ups with them about the company, about everything else. And that helps in a multiple manner, right? First, of course, it's let them help you more often and in more intense, because you're close. Second, it gives you quite a bit of external signals on what's happening in the market, how your company is seen. And in my case, I've got, I think, 8 or 9 people I'm meeting monthly, and when 30–40% of them saying the same thing, that's usually something I start really seriously studying and trying to figure out whether that's really the case, really the trend. Then this information actually can be used in your future fundraising when you get in new investors attracted, because understanding of the market is also an important thing. So yeah, they are indeed your colleagues. They are part of your team. My investors are all definitely my advisors. They work with me hand to hand, and they are the only bodies I can be sure that they have. Well, I cannot say VCs have exactly the same interests I do, but they are kind of the closest buddies, maybe co-founder and them. Everybody else is still your employees, right? And your employees not always have the same agenda, or I would rather say most of the times don't have the same agenda as you, unless they are very special, or unless there is some special terms or a need or a reason why they joined the company. So yeah, it's very important to have investors to be more than just cash providers to you. And I do leverage in all cases when I can. Some investors just don't want, yeah, but those who want, of course, I always work with them very closely. once they invested into us.
And so what, your company, one of the things that I respect a lot about it in terms of traction is you're working with great brands, you have lots of users, but not everything has gone perfectly. And what I'm most thinking about is your business was taking off very well. You had a good platform and you had a good acquisition strategy and you were growing. And then the pandemic hit. And like many businesses, you lost close to 75% of your business. I believe that's right. And you had to almost start over. Could you kind of like, what were the lessons learned that you, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but like, I just think that's such a valuable lesson that you almost had to start over and then you've recovered and then some. Like, how do you go through, because that is instructive to all entrepreneurs, I think. And there's just a huge lesson in that grit. So what did you kind of learn and what could you pass on to other folks?
Yeah, Derek, so that was not pandemic. Pandemic was the first hit.
Oh.
Yeah. The most major hit was when one president attacked another one, and
That's right.
all our clients in that area have gone in one day because of the sanctions, because of the war and everything. So one lesson I learned is that two lessons. Yeah, the first lesson is don't focus your business in one market, in one channel, in one industry, in one partner. That could be very risky, and this risk could be, you could justify this risk for a while, but you shouldn't always keep it and pray that everything will be fine. So let's say for our company, one of the major risks investors were looking at was our dependence on the social media and Google. So let's say Facebook, Google changed something, then could it just take a significant part of our business because we don't have our own infrastructure? And I was saying, oh, well, yeah, that's the case, but we have many channels. And also when we work on top of Google and Facebook, it's much easier for us to enter the company instead of offering our own advertising channel, which nobody knows. So it helps us to sell faster. Yeah, so this is kind of the balance there. But focusing on one area, on one market could be an issue, right? Let's say if you are just selling just in USA and you didn't try other markets, there's a risk that there's something going to happen in the company, in the country. There may be some policy change. In Israel, for example, right? There used to be the big issue, like in the USA, when you receive parcels, it's a delivery service, postal office to door, right? You don't need to really physically pick up the parcel every time. But in Israel and in a couple of European countries, like in UK, for example, when you receive the parcel, it should be you receiving the parcel. So you end up having 75–80% of those parcels being never received from the first time. And then after that, the people have to go to the post office or they have to redeliver, a lot of expenses. So, oh, that's a nice problem. Let's solve this problem, let's say in Israel. And you start solving this and you're getting good business because you're saving so much time and money. And then the postal office change the policy and now can deliver to the door or get, those lockers just near to your home in a convenient 7-Eleven store or something like that. And your business is gone because you were basing it on some principle or on some single channel where the value is not much, is no longer as big as in the beginning. So I think this is a lesson we learned. We were too much focused on Ukraine, Belarus, Russia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, all those countries, because the sales cycle was really good. We had partnerships with agencies. That was a mistake. And you should diversify your risks. And the second related lesson I learned is if you think that your negative projection is a projection saying that you're not going to grow in the next year, think twice. Your negative projection should be 3/4 of your business are gone. So our negative projection was we just don't grow, and we were accommodating for it. And our runway was, I think, 1.5 years, given that. But when your business all gone, then your runway suddenly can become 6-7 months. And that means you have to raise like within the next few months, and it could eventually kill the company. Therefore, if you look at the many of, let's say, Ukrainian or Russian businesses that solely focus their business in those markets, they're already dead. Really, yeah. So that because they haven't accommodated for it. We were international always. We just had a big chunk there, and for us it was really very difficult, and it's still difficult. We're still just about to recover. I think we recovered 80% of what we had, but we spent also 1 year on it. So yeah, these are the lessons that you probably want to learn. Pandemics, wars, and other things are happening, and that's going to impact.
But what did you do? Like, I know you just left that market, but what else did you do tactically to help you recover fast? Like, you fundraised and left the market. Was there anything else that you did?
So I think one of the most important qualities of a CEO is ability to make really hard decisions. So I think one of the hard decisions you need to make is you need to lay off people sometimes. So that's what we did. We did it in 3 batches. That was apparently a mistake. If you're going to lay off your team and according to your projections, do it in 1 batch, because every time you do this, it's like peeling the plaster slowly. Do it once. We did it in 3 waves. 3rd one was the most harsh, but now we are all no problem. So you need to really refocus your resource, because with the coming crisis that we have now and all the problems across the globe, you can see that there's no longer there's a paradigm of those businesses that burn much more money as compared to what they earn. Right now, a very common paradigm is you're profitable. In fact, profitable companies is what everybody's looking at, and in the world of startups. And I think you're going to be profitable if you want to be successful. So this is the first thing. Then the second thing is we didn't just fire people or wherever, we let them transform. So we offered them to get international, learn how to sell in international markets, learn how to change roles sometimes, right? So some of our let's say data scientists become programmers. Some of our legal people become sales. We give them all a chance, and if they are flexible enough, they were actually able to recover those things as well. Yeah, I changed my microphone. I think it'll be better because I get some background noise here. Yeah, so this is the second thing, right? We really let our people to be more flexible, and we let them change their roles. We always let people change. However, there is a rule: if after 3 months of being employed, your opinion about your employee is that you probably wouldn't have hired this person 3 months ago, if you know everything you know about him or her now, then it's a good time for them to go. Everything else wouldn't be really on your benefit, because if you want to be 0.01% company, that means you have to have 0.01% people, product, management, and everything. And if somebody in your team are not like that, then that would be a 2 negative impact. First, you'll be wasting money and time, and second, you will be demoralizing your team, who are working very hard and looking at the people who are not, or maybe not doing well enough. So they'll be thinking, why would I need to do this? So I think what I learned is being a founder is a very special role. Don't expect everyone else about you feeling the same way as you feel. Like they would carry your baby, your business much less as compared to what you and your co-founder and maybe your investors would do.
So, Aleks, in terms of fundraising, how, especially in your first round and your second round, like how do you determine the amount of equity to offer?
So in our case, they were not equities; they were safes. But safe has a cap, and cap considered to be your valuation. So that's kind of equity still. Yeah, I mean just to be precise, we were raising through safes, not through the equity. How would you define? Well, there is a market, and there are companies who are raising. For some of them, you could actually know what's the attraction, what's the growth rate, what's the valuations, what's the product. So you kind of can benchmark yourself and have a baselines of how people rise in your region. Of course, if you're in a valley, it'll be higher. If you are in Singapore, will be lower. If you are in I don't know, in Africa or in like Sri Lanka, it will be even lower. I recently heard that the whole Sri Lankan investment in startups last year is $4 million, a whole investment. Yeah, so different. Yeah, in different places, it's different, and that's what Derek used to say also before, that their talents are distributed evenly, but opportunities are not, right? So that's the case. You have to really know what other opportunities in your region are. Then there are a couple of components in this soup, right? The first one is the founder and the vision, the idea. I think this is quite important. And earlier the stage is more important is this. The second one is the innovativeness of your product, because you might not even have a traction. If you're in biotech, you might need like several years to get that, or maybe 5 years to get that, lots of investments. But the defensibility of the product, maybe unique insight, maybe unique tech, maybe unique data that you have, and ideally everything together, that is something that helps you with your multiple as well, multiple from your revenues, and then the revenues and the rate of growth of those revenues, and also where they come from. So basically the scalability of the business. I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm an agency and I'm running ads by hand, and I'm my turnover is, let's say, $1 million, and then I'm a technological startup, and my turnover is also $1 million, by I'm running ads by machine, and I have this algorithm, and my software can be used in a self-service manner, meaning that my customers can just take and use my software. So let's say not even turnover, let's say revenues is $1 million in both cases. So in case of agency, the multiple will be 1.5 to 2x of the revenues. So the agency can be sold for just maybe $2 to $4 million, while the company, like a startup that's running ads by machine, because it's much more scalable, could be the multiple could be 20, 30. Yeah, in Silicon Valley, just a couple of years ago, it can be like a crazy, like 50. Yeah, so this company could cost 20, 30 million versus 4 million or 2 million. Just because of the innovative aspect. So revenues is not the only thing, especially in the early stage. So the combination of those things, like, yeah, the technology, the founder, the actual revenues, and where they come from, and the rate of growth, the speed of growth, the gradient, is what would define your valuation. Then you look what are the multiples in your market. If you see that everybody is raising at X15, X20, then you try X25 and then go down if it doesn't work. That's how I was deciding.
And the way I kind of think about it too, and this requires a lot of work, but you kind of have to be an encyclopedia. Like, you need to know what your comps are, know what your market are, but you also need to know how much money you need and where you're trying to be. And you have to also comp that. And, you know, you have to think about it is, are you trying to be a $5 billion company or a $100 million company? And for some people, that's really hard to imagine. Well, what you have to do is you have to read books and you have to read history and you have to, you know, follow all the news and all the comps. I think like that's kind of the hard part. It's very much like seeing where you fit in, and where you're trying to be, and to raise around that narrative in your own mind. You have to have the goal that you want, and I think you should base it on what the market is, what others have done, and really go from there. I also think the general rule is a lot of people will tell you you want to stay between 10 to 20% per round of equity that you're giving up. I think a lot of people, to Alex's point, will do safes and try to have a cap, and you want to look at what that market is. I think everything is a little bit of a crapshoot until you're actually growing. Like, if you're not growing like lightning fast, it's gonna be really, really hard to get the best terms. So that's why like everything really is ultimately, if you're growing, VCs are calling you and they want to give you that money now. They will hear about you and come to you. If you're not growing, it's going to be hard, and you're going to have to look for comps and markets, and, you know, whether you're at market or below market. So,
And very often to grow, you need the money from VCs, right? That's the chicken egg problem there.
yeah.
So definitely, yeah.
So Aleks, what does one of the things is you use the just to put you on the spot a little bit. Do you still do the investor newsletter?
I'm responding one of the questions in the chat. Yeah, of course we do. Investor newsletter is a very powerful sales funnel. I am writing one right now. What is my pipe drive? I just want to show you. It's like I'm really writing one right now in here. Yeah, see, it's my newsletter for the month. And I put all those kind of things inside. It's like sales. It's in fact another sales funnel that you want to have. And this is a way for you to remind investors. I had many times people coming out to me after one of my newsletters with a new conversation, or sometimes you don't want to look like a pest trying to get to some VC, but you deliberately put something inside your newsletter in such a way that you know that person will later read it and get hooked, get interested. So you are remarketing them through the newsletter. You reminding them constantly that you exist. You want to write a very catchy summary so that from the first line they already know a little more about you, and then they kind of get reminded as well. But we do more than that. So we learned some of those tricks from Derek earlier, like a few years ago, but generally we do more than that. So we have a newsletter that I was showing you with all the data, screenshots, photos and stuff to make it a little bit engaging. We also do remarket our investors in social media and on LinkedIn. We actually run ads targeting all our investors indirectly reminding them about our products and also making them feel like we are really big and our advertisements are everywhere. So this is a little bit cute that we might be spending like $50 per month on some ads just for our investors. And then they later come back to me and say like, Alex, how much money you're spending on marketing? You know, it's your ads are everywhere in Google, in
That's
Facebook.
brilliant. I love that idea. It's
And
like,
of
oh,
course,
I
you
see
shouldn't
you
say,
everywhere.
yeah. Of course, you shouldn't tell them that. I mean, it shouldn't be an ad saying invest in us, right? It should be ad like, yeah, use a product, it's a great, blah, 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 blah. Then it's everywhere, and then it's just your few thousand people that you are sending your emails to, or maybe who have clicked to visit your website. So it's cheap, but it makes a very good impression. So this is what we do. We have the funnel consisting of several steps. We do also do email outreach, and we do it pretty professionally. So I have a BD person who go into the market, let's say US, find all investors that have invested in Adtech, that's like Adtech, like me, that have, let's say, had some company that is maybe similar to us in the stage or valuation or whatever. And then we create an automated emails telling them then, hey, you know, you have invested in this and this company and this fund, we seem to be part of your mandate. So it looks very personal, right? And when it looks personal, then people tend to read it. So even cold email outreach can be actually very efficient. People say it doesn't work. I would say it works. Every time I do outreach, I get 5-6 calls of VCs interested and thinking that I send those things individually to each of them, but in fact, I'm sending, I don't know, thousands sometimes. And I get another BD person who automatically map LinkedIn profiles of all those VCs and remarket them on LinkedIn on my behalf. That's why this prof Aleks Farseev, he is writing through the bot, writing VC and client email day and night, hundreds per day, just to attract people through my persona. I say, hey, I'm going to, I don't know, Barcelona next week. Let's catch up. I did some research. There's some, you know, AI software that is running ads very well. I want to know your opinion. And then I run an outreach for 3 weeks. And if I get 10 or 15 people who are interested to catch up with me or my team, then I really buy a ticket and fly to Barcelona. If they don't, that's okay. Then I'll just say, oh, it's canceled last minute. Can I get you on a call? And then maybe I'll come with somebody else from my BD team, and then they'll communicate. So I think in the digital era, sales have evolved a lot, and fundraising is another type of sales. If you're good in sales, you'll be good in fundraising. You just need to crack what kind of things you should say and what kind of things you shouldn't in order not to raise the red flags.
Yeah, I love the I'm coming to travel one because you can always cancel the trip if it doesn't make sense, right?
Exactly. That's your. You don't even need to book a trip before you get enough leads.
Yeah, 100%. And then you can decide if you want to go, or you can always say, hey, my trip moved. Can we hold the time on Zoom?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then you see, qualify them. If you really need to travel, you would, or maybe somebody from your team would. To people, it doesn't really matter. What they really care is attention. What they really care is the high-profile people talking with them. But then in the end, it's all about the value. It's just the first touch. Once you're on a call with a VC, once you're in a call with a customer in B2B, that's about you mostly, whether the deal will happen or not, because people are buying or investing in people, regardless of the stage, and you have to be good enough to close. But to do the first touch is pretty easy, and you can do it really mass nowadays in the market. I'm not sure I was telling you this story, like we have a product that scores somebody's ads, like this. Let's say I've get I've got somebody's ads manager like this. And then not even ads manager, like just ads libraries is a place where the public ads are listed. Let's say this is GiveGaff, this the telco in the UK. You actually can score the ads of the guy, even if you don't have access like to account, and you can tell exactly what part of the ad is in charge of performance. See? So now, very easy sales approach that we do in Somin. We go scan all the ads that people are running. When they run enough ads, we actually score the ads. We find the worst ads, and we send an automated email saying, hey, this is your ad. We know it doesn't work. We know that we know because we are very accurate. If we are right, why don't you have a call with us to see the rest of the tech? And we even went further. We now write in email something like, hey, there's a conference coming in 2 weeks. I'm a research professor, you know, I score your ads and they suck. So we get so excited. We get so excited. We want to show this in the conference in the audience for 2,000 people. Can we please ask for your permission? And then
Oh, I love it.
and then they come and say, no, don't do it. You can't. I say, oh, sure, we wouldn't. But let's catch up. At least I show it to you personally. And here you go. You can get a sales, right?
I love that.
So
So basically, can we talk about how bad your ad is?
exactly. Yeah. And you have it's AI predicted that even not even personal, right? You don't need to come across as expert or whatever. There's so many experts. I don't know. I run AI. I run GPT-4, whatever, to see how bad you are doing. Usually it's not you, it's your stuff. And CEOs, they are very anxious. They always think that marketing doing bullshit. And they're like, okay, somebody writing to you telling that their marketing is doing bullshit. I'm thinking about this for the last 6 months because I know they're doing bullshit. I want to meet this guy. Tell me, please. Yeah, so it's very fun. Yeah, it's very fun to do beyond what you would do in corporate, and that's why I like startups so much.
So who has any other questions? I mean, Paul's asking what resources you did to find valuations, Crunchbase, Pitch Deck, Google. I mean, what else do you use?
Yeah, so I have Crunchbase subscription. I have Pitch Deck subscription from my investor, and I get a BD guy day and night searching for their company valuations and different other information. He's working for sales department and also for me when I need it. So quite often you can find it. If you cannot find it, you can we can roughly look for the revenues of the company. There's a couple of websites for that. Then you can multiply for the industry multiple. Then you can get a valuation as well. So valuation search is not as easy, but in my case, I even have investor network. I can just actually ask. Quite often they know because
Well,
they
and I
co-invest
also
with
think,
somebody who co-invests.
and I don't mean to cut you off, but I also think if you can get the amount, you usually can get the valuation.
Yeah.
Like if someone puts a press release out that says they raised an undisclosed amount of money at an undisclosed valuation, it typically means that something was really wrong and they're trying to hide the fact. Like they're not proud. But typically people will at least put the amount that they raised, and you can typically find the amount.
Yeah, you know the amount, then you just decide that it's probably 20 to 30% of the total value. That will be, I mean, this is quite a golden rule, right? 10 to 30%, maybe 20% is an average.
Does anyone have any other questions?
Robert, you're on mute. Just in case you are saying anything.
Yeah, so I feel like I have about 100 questions. We're building a social site. And so I'm curious on both ends, for us getting out there, using your tech, and then using your tech for, our customers. So I don't know if that's a conversation with you or some of your BD people or sales, but yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, just drop me an email or let me know what the customers are, and then we see if they overlap, of course. We do white label. I responded to your question. We do a white label to WPP and to some other startups. There's a company called Farseev. They sell a lot in Argentina and in US. I would say 70% of their technology offering is Somin, and their part is usually the services around it, because we don't want to do the services, we want to do the tech side. And so for us it's pretty easy, and we do like to work with other companies, because why would you sell it yourself if somebody else sell for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we try to partner. This is one of our sales channel. One is direct, another one is through the partners. Pretty much the two main channels. And now we've got a self-service product, so we also putting much more money on the marketing, trying to build the funnel and figure out how we can get people sign up on us automatically without any sales calls as well.
So other than just using Somin, Alek, like what advice would you have for an early stage company that's trying to market to consumers? Like, what would you be thinking about if you were them?
I'm consulting few now, those companies of my friends. I always suggest them to treat the digital ads as a data source, as an analytic data source for them to really understand whether there is a market fit. How does the funnel look like? So because with a modern advertising systems, like let's say Facebook, let's say TikTok, doesn't matter, you could actually get a lot of data of what people are using, how they're using your software for relatively small money, right? You can just spend a few $1,000s. Then you'll see what they click, where they go, how do they react. You can get the upper funnel questionnaires. You can get them to sign up on a waiting list. You can get them, let's say, give them a credit card, or without credit card, sign up and see how does it look different. So it requires some marketing knowledge, but generally, to me, all the sales processes and marketing are all about the building funnels and testing them and iterating constantly. So I think for those who have started B2C business, it's very important to get some version of the product out and try to market it in different channels and see what is the response. Why? Well, because it will take you quite a bit of time to build your funnel before somebody really start using your product. And you don't want to spend that time after your product release. You actually want to spend this time before your product release, and then release your product according to how the people react on your ads. So for example, I have one friend, he's building the chat based on ChatGPT. Really, he's building it for interpreting dreams, and also like kind of a psychological support, kind of chatbot, something like that. So he was doing a lot of distribution of this chatbot to his friends, but then he has realized that the moment that he started running ads for the same chatbot, he got lots of people interested in the ad itself, but then nobody want to chat. Nobody want to release a WhatsApp number and click and start really chatting, because they are much farther in the funnel as compared to his friends. And now one of the biggest questions for him is not how to interpret dreams accurately,
but rather how to make the conversion process as smooth as possible so that people who see the ad really start chatting with him. What they should write in there. Should they run multiple funnels, awareness considerations? Should they educate the customers first? Should they have a website that leads to chat so that you can educate through the website, or you can convert directly? So that's not even a question of the product now. Don't need to fall in love in a product. That's a question of the funnel and what? And a problem. Because if the people have a problem of interpreting their dreams and a problem of, you know, getting its emotional, psychological support through WhatsApp, then the funnel would work the way he built, but it doesn't. There must be something in between. There must be a pathway from the intent, if it exists, all the way to the software. And software doesn't matter. Means what? Means you got an idea, release it, try to market it. With all the technology nowadays, you can do it pretty cheap. You will know way more as compared to what your friends would tell you or what you would figure out by yourself, because again, you are the perfect sample of a size 1. You are the only one with your ideas in your head, and then you are the perfect sample of size 1, and you need few thousand or few millions, and it's very accessible nowadays. So just run it as early as you could.
I
We are
really
B2B
do like
business.
you. Go ahead. Sorry, go
we are
ahead.
we are B2B business, yeah. So for us, it's same rule with a slightly different consideration, because our customers, they are deciding how whether to buy our product, not by one person, by the conglomerate of people, different departments, and all the blah blah blah. Like a B2B sales is a different thing. But most of our customers, in fact, 99% of our customers are B2Cs, and I see this everywhere. It doesn't matter what you sell to consumers, but you really figure out your funnel, and your product is important, but not as important. I even have some businesses that say, hey, my game is really bad, I know this, but idea of the game is so good so that people don't mind to spend $30 to sign up and play it. I know they'll churn in 1 month, but why would I care if I have the whole world and I can generate leads for this game at $5 and sell it for $30? And well, I mean, Derek, maybe that's not a VC story because they say, oh, it's not a sticky product, da 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 da. But honestly, who cares? If I can spend 1 million and in return I can get 6 million of revenues, or I spend 5 million and in return I'm gonna get 30 millions of revenues. Even then they all churn. Even this is a good example of people solving the problem. Maybe the problem of particular moment of time when person want to play some strange game and willing to pay $30 for it. That's okay. That's also a good business.
I agree that one of the things that I'm constantly looking for is, you know, sales are just evidence that a problem is being solved. Sometimes, but sometimes sales are not. And I think I've told this story before, but for example, a guy was selling robots to restaurants that is making milkshakes. And he bragged to me on how he's going to be in 45 restaurants, you know, by the end of the year. And he's already in 20, and he has X million in sales selling these robots. But what I said to him is, well, how many milkshakes have you made? Because I don't really care that you're selling robots to restaurants. I need to see evidence that restaurants want robots making their milkshakes and not waiters and waitresses that are doing it today. And without that evidence, this isn't interesting. So, and sometimes, you know, sales is evidence that people like your product. And that's where you get things like repeat sales, or, you know, Aleks brought up a point. He learned the hard way not to have your, like, too much of your revenues clustered with one customer or one part of the world, but that's also evidence on that your product is loved. Because you could say, hey, I work with Ferrari, Citibank, Puma, I don't know, Audi, all the brands that Aleks works with. But then as a VC, if you ask and say, well, what percentage of revenue are those 5 brands? And he says 1%. Well, all of a sudden, the sexiness of those brands disappears, right? And so at the early stage, you are looking for that love. Do you agree with what I'm saying, Aleks? If you disagree, tell me.
No, I agree, of course.
Oh, now you have
Yep. Yeah, I've got 2 mics. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think logos is very important, and I would say that logos are important more for your customers rather than for your VCs. It might help to tease VC in the very beginning, and it must have a story around it, like, oh, you know, I'm gonna scale with this company in the whole world. I wouldn't need to sell, but I will sell because they will sell it through the HQ or something like that. That kind of stories VCs like. Every time I meet VCs, I do tell them, hey, Ferrari buying me in 5 markets in Asia Pacific, not in 1. And I sell to Singapore only, and then the rest 5, the rest 4 bought it automatically through Ferrari. That is a value. But just Ferrari itself doesn't mean anything. And only maybe your customers will be the ones feeling like more reassured when they see these logos. What really matters is, of course, the revenues, the true fit, the true market fit, because those companies don't find market fit, they die. So the true market fit and the growth, the stickiness, long retention rates, the low churn, these are the things that matter. And if it's B2B, it's even more matter, because that shows that you actually solving the pain point.
Oh, Paul. Awesome. Does anyone else have any other questions? All
No,
right.
you pretty much answered all of them. That was really helpful, though. Thank you.
Hey, Justin. Oh,
So
sure.
Aleks, you posted your email. Do you mind if people email you if they're interested in either
Oh, yeah,
Somin
sure, yeah.
or
That's what I
talking to you?
did. Yeah, that's what I did. You can find me in LinkedIn as well. Just drop me an email. I always read them, and if I don't respond, means I need to drop another one. That means I didn't notice. I always respond emails when I notice them. All right.
Awesome.
Thanks for inviting.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Aleks, especially, and everyone have a kick-ass rest of your day.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.